Sometimes I sit down and decide to write an article about something I think is important. And then there are some articles that seem to write themselves. The article I wrote today was one of the latter. The importance of importance. I thought I was writing an article about politics, propaganda, and tribalism, and somewhere along the way, it became about something entirely different. My thinking came in and my perspectives. I noticed that my experiences were influencing what I was writing about. And then my curiosity opened it up to something entirely new. It became about trying to understand how my friends organized so strongly around ideas that seemed to be bigger than just one perspective. Have you ever noticed that two thoughtful, intelligent, and compassionate people can look at precisely the same event and see two entirely different realities? One sees injustice, another sees freedom. One sees danger, and another sees possibility. One sees corruption, and another sees courage. And both are absolutely certain that they are seeing clearly. I've spent much of my life wondering who was right. More recently, I've begun wondering whether I've been asking the wrong question. What if the more interesting question isn't whether we see reality clearly? What if it's this? What have I become organized around noticing? I don't know when it happened, but somewhere during the writing of this article, I realized I had become the subject of it. I stopped, it stopped being about politics, it stopped being about beliefs, it stopped being about propaganda. It stopped being about tribalism and it became about something much quieter: attention. Human beings are remarkable creatures. We organize ourselves around what is important. We protect what is important. We will fight for what is important. And sometimes I wonder if quietly we become what is important to us as well. We speak often about what we believe. We speak less often about how we came to believe it. We ask whether something is true. We rarely ask ourselves when we stopped questioning it. One of the questions that followed me throughout the writing of this article was surprisingly uncomfortable. What truth do I no longer question? I don't like that very much. I suspect that's why I need it. There's another realization that quietly emerged while writing. Human beings have the wonderful capacity to make peace with uncertainty through faith, meaning, and story. The danger is not that we do so, the danger begins when we forget that we have done so. We all inherit stories: stories about ourselves, stories about humanity, stories about danger, stories about what deserves our attention, and even stories about what is possible. And I've begun wondering, perhaps, if humanity's greatest responsibility is not merely deciding what deserves our attention, but deciding what deserves our practice. Are we practicing curiosity? Are we practicing humility? Are we practicing outrage? Are we practicing flourishing? Are we practicing becoming more human together? Or are we practicing falling apart? Because what we repeatedly practice becomes who we become. There's one final thought that I'd like to leave you with. I no longer wonder whether humanity is asleep or awake. I wonder whether we will remain sufficiently humble to hear one more story, including our own. Perhaps wisdom is not found in becoming blind to evil, nor in becoming consumed by it. Perhaps it's found in remaining sufficiently curious to notice both what diminishes humanity and what allows it to flourish. And perhaps becoming more human is simply becoming willing to allow one more story to exist besides our own. I'll leave you with the sentence that has survived every revision of this article, the one that was never willing to remove. I hope I never become so convinced of my own goodness that I lose my curiosity about yours. Thank you for wondering with me.